Right now, the small creature you see has been living on this planet for approximately over 100 million years. Dinosaurs went extinct, empires collapsed, climates changed, but it is still here and continues to live on. It weighs less than a gram. Its brain is smaller than a sesame seed, but without it, 2/3 of supermarket shelves would be empty, large portions of fields would remain barren, and perhaps human civilization as we know it today could not exist. This is the story of a bee, but it is also the story of survival, cooperation, and nature's perfect balance. Bees evolved from wasps approximately 130 million years ago. The oldest evidence that tells us this is a fossilized bee found frozen inside Burmese amber, over 100 million years old. The world was very different back then. Flowering plants were just beginning to emerge, and an unprecedented partnership between bees and flowers was beginning. Scientists call this co-evolution, the process of two species evolving together by shaping one another. While bees collected nectar and pollen from flowers, flowers achieved the pollination necessary for reproduction through bees. This relationship was so powerful that today, approximately 80% of flowering plants on Earth depend on insects, especially bees, for pollination. Today, there are more than 20,000 known bee species in the world. The vast majority of these are solitary species. The one that first comes to our minds, the honey-making, hive-building Apis mellifera, or the European honeybee, is actually just a single member of this vast family. When you look at a honeybee colony, your first impression might be bees wandering around in chaos, thousands of bees constantly moving, passing over one another, buzzing. But beneath this image lies an incredible order. A hive consists of an average of 40,000 to 80,000 bees, and each of these bees has a specific role. The queen bee, the only reproductive female in the hive, she lays approximately 2,000 eggs per day. Her lifespan ranges from 3 to 5 years, roughly 40 times that of a worker bee. Worker bees, all female and non-reproductive. They take on different tasks at different stages of their lives. In their early days, they feed larvae, then produce beeswax, build combs, inspect strangers entering the hive, and in the final stage, go outside to collect nectar. Male bees, drones, few in number, unable to sting, and their sole purpose is to mate with the queen. When winter approaches, they are expelled from the hive by the worker bees. So how is this vast community managed? Does anyone know who makes the decisions? There is no central leader. The hive operates on collective intelligence. Bees communicate with each other through chemical signals called pheromones and special dances. When a bee finds a good nectar source, it returns to the hive and performs a dance called the waggle dance. This dance encodes and conveys the direction, distance, and quality of the source to other bees. The sun is used like a compass. This is one of the most complex communication systems known in the animal world. Honey, one of the oldest foods known to humanity. Thousands of years old honey found in Egyptian pharaohs' tombs was still unspoiled. So how is this miraculous substance produced? A worker bee produces only 1/12 of a teaspoon of honey throughout its entire life. Approximately 556 worker bees are required for 1 jar of honey, and these bees travel a distance equivalent to circling the Earth twice in total. The process works like this. The bee sucks the nectar from a flower and stores it in a special stomach. Upon returning to the hive, it transfers the nectar mouth to mouth to other worker bees. This process is repeated many times. With each transfer, enzymes are added to the nectar. The nectar then placed in the combs is ventilated by the bees fanning their wings, reducing the moisture content from approximately 80% down to 17 to 20%. At this point, the honey becomes imperishable. It is sealed with beeswax and long-term storage begins. The fact that honey does not spoil is no coincidence. The high sugar concentration in its content, low moisture level, and enzymes that produce hydrogen peroxide make it impossible for bacteria to survive. This is why honey has been used as an antiseptic throughout all of history. The most valuable gift bees give us is not actually honey, it is pollination. As bees collect nectar, they carry the pollen that sticks to their bodies to other flowers. This seemingly simple action is the cornerstone of global food production. The numbers are strikingly dramatic. The vast majority of products derived from approximately 400 plant species available for human consumption worldwide depend directly on pollinators. Almonds, apples, cherries, strawberries, melons, squash, sunflowers. All of these products would either not exist at all without bees, or could only be produced in very limited quantities. According to data from the UN Food and Agriculture Organization, the economic value provided by pollinators exceeds $500 billion annually. And this figure only reflects the directly measurable economic impact. Their indirect contribution to ecosystems is too vast to calculate. An event that occurred in China's Sichuan province in the 1990s brought this reality into sharp relief. Due to excessive pesticide use, the bee population in the region nearly disappeared. As a solution, farmers were forced to pollinate fruit trees by hand. With small brushes, they carried pollen from flower to flower. This was both incredibly expensive and inefficient, and in that region this is still ongoing. In 2006, beekeepers began noticing something strange. Hives were suddenly emptying. Inside there was honey, there were larvae, there was a queen, but there were no worker bees. They had vanished without a trace. This was called colony collapse disorder. That winter, 30 to 90% of commercial bee colonies in the United States disappeared in this way. Scientists have been investigating the causes ever since. The accepted view today is that this is not a single cause but a crisis that arises from multiple factors coming together. Neonicotinoids, this widely used group of pesticides in agriculture, affects bees' nervous systems. It disrupts bees' ability to navigate and weakens their memory. The European Union banned the majority of these substances for outdoor use. Varroa destructor, a parasitic mite that feeds on bee larvae and adults. It was accidentally spread across the world in the 20th century and remains one of the greatest biological threats to bee colonies today. Habitat loss, monoculture, farmlands urbanization, and meadow degradation dramatically reduce the diversity of flowering plants on which bees can feed. Climate change, the delicate balance between flowering seasons and bees' active periods, is being disrupted. When bees arrive to reach certain flowers, those flowers may have already wilted. Although the picture looks bleak, scientists, beekeepers, and activists are not backing down. Urban beekeeping is gaining momentum. Hives installed on rooftops and in parks in major cities like Paris, London, New York, and Istanbul are contributing to the protection of bee populations in urban areas. Wildflower corridors are being created. In some European countries, wildflowers are being planted along roadsides, railway lines, and the edges of agricultural land, expanding the habitats where bees can feed. Science is not standing still either. Work on bee strains resistant to varroa is ongoing. Some beekeepers have succeeded in breeding bee lineages that show hygienic behavior, capable of cleaning out the mites. And, most importantly, awareness is growing. More and more people are planting lavender and wildflowers in their gardens. More and more people are making more conscious choices about pesticide use. A bee produces 1/12 of a teaspoon of honey in its lifetime. In doing so, it visits thousands of flowers, flies hundreds of kilometers, and works until its wings wear out. It never takes more than it needs. It never consumes more than necessary. And everywhere it goes, it leaves life behind. Perhaps this is the greatest lesson we can learn from this tiny creature. If you enjoyed this video and want to support the protection of bees, the simplest thing you can do is plant a few flowers on your balcony or in your garden. That's all it takes. Bees share this planet with us. But the real question is, do we deserve to share it with them?